My husband and I live fairly close to his parents, like 15 minutes, and his brother who has severe intellectual disabilities at age 36. My husband is a doctor, and with the pandemic we've decided to live apart for the time being, so he doesn't have to worry about accidentally infecting me. So now I've moved in with my in-laws and his brother. I love his in-laws like my own parents. His brother, however, is another story. He's disabled, but he has an incredibly foul mouth and very offensive opinions that he's formed from years surfing deep corners of the internet. But he's disabled and is not all there sometimes, so I do my best to help out and keep my mouth shut. Last Saturday, I was going on a walk with him, daily exercise, when we were walking past this big grocery store parking lot. We see a dad and son loading groceries into their car, and my brother-in-law started yelling harsh insults at them. I was horrified and I tried pulling him away. But it was heartbreaking seeing the look on the little boy's face and the exhausted and defeated expression on his dad's face as they drove away. I was so angry that night I called my husband and basically told him I will rent a hotel room myself because I can't stand another minute in the same house as his brother. It's been a week and my husband has told me he can't sleep because he's so upset over what I told him. I admit I used harsh words and fully laid out my feelings. He said he still loves his brother and can't stand the thought of us never getting along. Am I the idiot for telling him directly how I felt about this brother? I'm wondering if I should have just kept it to myself. Not the idiot. Just because someone suffers a disability or illness, it doesn't mean you have to accept their behavior. The brother may not understand what's wrong or offensive or why, I don't know the details obviously, but that doesn't mean you have to put yourself in that situation, nor gloss over it, just because it is a disability or illness. You have your boundaries and feelings, and you're entitled to them. I understand for your partner it's not great to hear, and understandably he would love you to get along, but he needs to understand that some things are unacceptable even given the circumstances. What that man and child were subjected to was not fair, and your partner can't ignore it. You are the idiot, or rather you acted in that way, when you waited till you were exploding to talk to your husband. It's stressful for everyone lately, and no one can be expected to handle all situations perfectly. I think in this snapshot you're in the wrong. This is a perfect example of why communication is so important, so that no one gets to the point where we snap and say things that we regret. You're not at all an idiot for needing boundaries in this situation, but you are for trying to establish them over an angry, hurtful phone call. Collect your thoughts and sincerely apologize to your husband for how you handled the situation and for the things you said about his family. You are the idiot. Not for how you feel about your husband's brother, which is perfectly fine, but for taking your angry feelings out on your husband. You absolutely should get the hell out of that house as soon as possible and pay for a hotel room with your own money, not out of a joint account. Your husband loves his brother, disabilities, faults and all, and you took that and shoved it in his face in harsh words and rejection. You can probably kiss your good relationship with your in-laws goodbye from now on too. You don't need to love his brother, but you certainly handled it poorly if you made your husband as upset as you say. I'm 25, and I'm a caretaker, but not the legal guardian to my brother who is 16, and sister who is 14. They are practically my kids. When I was 16, our dad died and him dying caused my mom to become mentally unstable, and she turned to alcohol. We became homeless, living in motels and random guys' houses. My mom didn't care. When I finally turned 18 I got my own place, and brought them along. We were in a better place, but it was also really tough. My mom provided nothing. I worked full-time job and along with odd jobs to make we had a home and food. In essence, I became their mom, and they were my kids. For a long time, we only had each other. My mom drifted from state to state. She only reached out when she wanted money or a place to sleep. 10 years later, and she has a job, and is mostly sober. She has a nice condo and recently got a brand new Mercedes. The way she got these things are not because she worked really hard at her job, if you get what I mean. Even with all her shiny new crap, she doesn't give me any money. No child support, nothing. If they ask for money, she cash apps them, but as for giving me child support, nope. Again, I'm not their guardian, so I tried to get money from her in court. I didn't want like Child Protective Services to get involved and have them taken away. Anyway, all this to say, I recently got engaged. We've been talking about living arrangements. My fiancé owns his house while I rent, so for obvious reasons, I would live with him. The problem is that it's about an hour away, and it's kinda small for the four of us. Not only that, but my brother loves his school and doesn't want to switch. I imagine my sister feels the same way. My fiancé has offered reasonable accommodations. We could make it work and still have them attend their school, but in all honesty, I don't care. I don't want to be their mom anymore. I want my mom to take them and figure out new living arrangements. I spent nearly a decade caring for them. I don't want to do it anymore. I scrimped and saved every cent and nearly lost my mind doing so. Even worse, my damn hair turned gray thanks to the stress of it all. I'm done. I want to go play house with my soon-to-be husband and maybe have some tiny humans of my own. I told my maternal grandma this, and she was irate. Told me that I was just like my mom for trying to abandon them. She doesn't trust my mom, and for good reason. This lifestyle she has probably won't last. My siblings are at extremely high risk of being homeless again. It scares the heck out of me. It makes me sad too. I love them so much. I know it doesn't seem like it, but I really do. And my sister does not want to go back to my mom. I'm kin to all she knows. But to say I'm tired and resentful is an understatement. I'm not their mom. That's it, full stop. I told my grandma this, and she said I was the jerk. So here I am. Am I the jerk for wanting to abandon my siblings? Not the idiot. But as much as I understand the need to have your own life back, both kids are nearly at an age they will be a lot less dependent on you, getting jobs, going to college, moving out, etc. And given the trauma they have already been through, I kinda feel like you would regret in the long term abandoning them to their mom. If there was another close family member, or something they could stay with, and it was a negotiated or mutual agreement, then fine. You state yourself the situation with mom will not last, and therefore they are still at risk. If you place them in this situation, and it blows up, they may never speak to you again. You are an amazingly kind, responsible, hardworking and strong person to have done what you did for you and your siblings. And, despite everything, you found someone you love, who accepts you and your situation. Of course you want to be with that person, just the two of you, without the added responsibilities. And you're almost there. Your brother is 16, and you should mentally ready him to get a job, and support himself and move out in 2 years. Same with your sister in 4 years. Can your fiancé and you adjust for 2 years? The house will be emptier once your brother moves. You're still so young. Absolutely not the idiot for what you're feeling, but I wouldn't trust your mom with taking care of them. Not the idiot. Your childhood, teens and early 20s were totally different than the expected norm. You've had to deal with a lot of stress and responsibilities that you shouldn't have. It's well within your rights to take charge of your life. But, are you willing to have your relationship with your siblings change? I'm sure you wouldn't actually abandon them wherever they went, but they would lose the stability they had up until now. You seem to have turned out okay, and pain is part of life, but are you willing to be the one inflicting these lessons on them? Anyway, I hope things turn out okay, and I hope everyone involved goes to therapy. I, 29, have 2 kids, 6 and 1. I've recently become friends with a 26 who is due in a few weeks with her first child. We're a bit of an odd match. We don't necessarily have a lot in common, but we get along well enough, and she likes to ask for my advice on things as she prepares to give birth and be a new mom. She doesn't have any family living nearby, and I know how hard that is, so I like being able to help her out. The issue is that as she gets closer to her due date, the more judgmental she gets of my parenting. It started when she decided to do cloth diapers and tried to convince me I should switch too. I had to tell her I'd been there, done that with my first, and it's not for me. She asks for product reviews on fancy baby gadgets like the backseat camera or the Owlet sock thing, and when I said I never used stuff like that, she said that she's going to use it because she wants to keep her baby as safe as possible. I was trying really hard to not be the experienced mom that says just you wait because I hate that, but I kinda feel that way sometimes. I figure nature will take its course, and she'll eventually see that you can't take mommy Instagram influencers as gospel. Today was the last straw. I have mastitis and I had to stay home from work. I would have gone in, but they're doing temperature screenings at the door and I have a fever, so I would have just been sent home anyway. We were texting, and I mentioned that I'd called in, and she started saying I didn't have to stay home from work over a sore breast, that I just needed to buy a Haakaa and use that, but it wasn't worth staying home over. I'll admit that hit a nerve for me, because I already feel bad about using my paid sick leave for myself, since I like to save it up in case my kids get sick. In my anger, I said that thing I told myself I'd never say. I said she should wait until she's actually experienced something before she tries to talk about it, because right now she just doesn't know what she's talking about. Well, apparently she's so upset that her husband texted me and asked me why I'd say something like that to her when she's due in 2 weeks and already nervous. He said she's been crying for an hour now. I feel like maybe I just shouldn't have said anything. Not the idiot. I mean, I understand that she's emotional and hormonal. But honestly, people shouldn't comment on things they have no experience with. It's condescending and not their place. I understand new moms want all things good for their babies, and I notice this a lot with first-time moms. There's something that just shifts when you have a second and third. As her friend, you in turn need to accept that she doesn't have that experience yet. She's hopeful and trying to do what she thinks is right. However, an opinion is just that. It's easiest to just brush those things off, or if it's too much to ignore those comments, cut off the friendship. Not the idiot. It's none of her business why you stayed home from work. This seemed to be something you have been holding in for a while. Her pregnancy is no excuse for her to act so judgmental and tell you what to do with your life. She was extremely out of line and really does not know what she's talking about. I know pregnancy hormones make us do some crazy things, but it's never an excuse for anything. So just because she's pregnant, you're supposed to sit there and just take the unsolicited abuse she hurls at you? No. You were 100% right. She does not sound like a good friend. Not the idiot. This is a especially sore topic for me, since I had double mastitis that evolved into abscesses in both breasts and I had to go through several surgical procedures to remove everything. Antibiotics weren't working, and it took almost a month to find one that actually worked. The pain and all the other symptoms were unbearable. I could have died. I have scars in both breasts that will never go away. This attitude of mastitis is just breast pain needs to stop. It's a serious thing. New moms and pregnant women need to be told about reality too. I am a 44 who you can call Dave, and I have 2 kids. The oldest child is Zara, 16, and youngest is Alex, 14. I am no longer with their mother. No bad blood there. She's a good mom, and we split custody 50-50. We parent well together too. My kids stay with their mom 1 week and stay with me 1 week, except for the summer where I have them more, because I have a beach house that the 3 of us migrate to. It's something my kids look forward to, and my daughter would like to move into when she's 18, but that's a separate conversation. The problem is my ex remarried and had more children with her current husband, and they are upset the new children aren't experiencing the same life. Their family as a whole isn't very well off, and I'm guessing that they struggle. They've never been on a vacation and can't afford to eat out, so I can see where the kids might feel excluded in life. I send my kids a weekly allowance via Venmo. It's not a lot, in my opinion. I give Alex 30 and Sarah 50 extra for female products and needs, and that alone has caused arguments. They'll go to McDonald's and the 3 other kids throw a fit. This past Christmas, I had my 2 on Christmas Eve, and we did gifts then as well. I got my son a Switch with some games, clothes, sports gear, and an IOU for a PS5 when it's available. He thought it was funny and not mean, by the way. For my daughter, I let her pick out her clothes and got her a new camera and MacBook. I understand this is a lot, but I don't have any other responsibilities. We had a good evening and my kids were very happy. My son kicked my butt in Mario Kart, and my daughter took some holiday photos, but on Christmas evening their mom called and had a frank conversation about making their siblings feel like less as they got board games and action figures. This turned into me not furthering their relationship with trips and stuff to the beach house, and how they always beg to go and experience it, which I won't lie, one of them did ask me to do in the past. I just don't feel comfortable or wanting to do that, and Alex doesn't care, while Sarah flat out doesn't want it. I do feel bad, but I don't think I have a responsibility to their kids, and my kids shouldn't have to hide their joy or possessions. My son refuses to share his Switch at their house, and I told his mother it is his too as he wishes, and if she took away without real cause, or forced him to share, I would take issue with this, because he's a just young person, who's not aiming to hurt anyone. I told my ex that I was planning a trip to Disney after COVID, and it really hit her. My ex wants it cancelled because her other two ones thought Santa loved them less, and everything was damaging their kids mentally. Am I the idiot with not including their kids? Not the idiot. I see this often with mixed families. Your ex-wife and her husband need to understand that neither the new husband nor his kids are part of your family. Your family begins and ends with your two kids, and it's not your responsibility to include their siblings. If their father and mother can't provide for them, it is not up to you to even the field. Sure, it hurts that the kids feel bad, but their parents should have an adult talk with them. Hey kids, I make less money than the father of your brothers, so that's why your lifestyle is different. It's a hard conversation to have, but it needs to happen. The blame is all on your ex-wife and her husband. I'm not gonna decide on if you're an idiot or not because this seems like a pretty complex and deep thing. However, you hold no obligations other than to be nice and polite to the children your ex had with her new husband. They are in no way, shape or form your responsibility or obligation, so you shouldn't be expected to do anything for them. Now I would say that to make it easier on you two, anything extravagant in the future should be kept at your house, and just ask them politely to not talk about it in front of their other siblings. That would keep any hardships, whining, resentment from growing whenever they're there. Not the idiot. Your ex is failing to understand that you are keeping your kid in a lifestyle commensurate to your income. She is keeping her other kids in a lifestyle commensurate to her income. You do not have a financial responsibility to your ex's other kids, you are not their parent, and you do not need to act like one. Life doesn't always seem fair, but the reality is that you are not the dad for the ex's kids, and do not owe them anything. Your ex needs to manage her kids' expectations and have a discussion with them to help them understand that you are not their dad and will not parent them or provide for them.